All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I am very glad to welcome our special guest today, Esha Shoker. Esha, I'm actually going to read her bio just so that you have a bit of an introduction to her, and then we will get going with the interview. But Esha, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Maddie. Really, really excited about this.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And then we will get going. So, Esha is a registered clinical counselor and holds a master's in clinical counseling. She is the founder of Wellness Talks, Registered Clinical Counseling, which is a private practice. Esha provides counseling services to clients all over the Lower Mainland. And with the help of virtual platforms, Esha now works full-time virtually and serves clients all over Canada. She specializes in, but is not limited to, trauma or PTSD, anxiety, family systems, relationship therapy, and addiction or substance use. Esha Shoker has over 10 years of work experience in the behavioral health and science field. Her career started off with helping children and youth within the school system as an education assistant and a youth care worker. Sorry. Um, Her main purpose as a counselor is to help individuals connect with their inner wisdom, to support them to stand within the truth of their own experience and more meaningfully and effectively deal with life challenges. I love that. That's so lovely. So to start off, I would love to just hear a little bit more about yourself and how you came to be where you are today, like your personal background and your career path. And I would love to hear that from you.
Okay, wonderful. So thanks for that introduction, Maddie. And thank you all who have tuned in. I am born and raised right here in Surrey, BC. I am a second generation Indo-Canadian. My parents immigrated here from India in their early 20s. Overall, I come from a hardworking immigrant family. Nothing's really come easy. So that work ethic, seeing that from a young age influenced me greatly. And the value of open and honest talks I learned in my household, right? So as cliche as it sounds, I always knew I wanted to help others in a deep spiritual way. So that's really, me in a personal background note. And you touched on a few of my career highlights. So I'll just kind of expand on that. So I worked with children and youth for over 9 years, and in the addictions field with women and men for around 5, and now as an RCC in private practice for 3+ years. I actually started off as an early childhood educator, believe it or not, working in preschools and daycares. This role taught me patience, as you can imagine, right, above anything else. And after this, I decided to continue my studies, and that's when I did my special education teacher assistant diploma. That's what led me to do the EA position with the Surrey School Board. And then working as an EA as well as an early childhood educator at the same time.
Right.
Many people do 2 jobs at the same time these days. That's when I decided, I need to, as amazing as those jobs were, they were not financially, sufficient enough. And this is a problem we have today, right? So I decided to explore again, went back to school and completed my BA. And it was actually during my undergrad that I became a youth care worker, because that was a requirement at the time, that you had to be close to completing a degree. And I got to work with some amazing youth who, they were challenged in some ways and were experiencing adolescence, which is a tough time for all of us. And that's when I really realized, okay, clearly these kids are navigating towards me to talk about their problems.
Right.
So that was kind of the aha moment. And I decided, okay, counseling it is. And so I did 2 additional years on my BA to take counseling psych courses. And I also became heavily involved in the interdisciplinary expressive arts faculty at KPU. And then it was honestly with the help of an amazing professor and very well-known therapist, Ross Laird, who helped me realize my true passion.
Wow.
So I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but that's it in a nutshell.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's actually very cool because you and I think, have a lot of similar values and passions. I actually went to school to become like an elementary school teacher, but
Oh, wow.
I changed kind of my path. It's still very
Mhm.
connected. I still
Mhm.
am working with youth and educating, but it's more in the mental health field. So I love your path of working with youth and seeing how
Mhm.
they gravitated towards you to open up. I think that's so
Mhm.
wonderful. And then seeing, like, using that to find your passion and find your path. Very, very
Yeah.
awesome. I'd love to know about, your experience as an education assistant and youth care worker, and how you find that experience and that work influences your work today and your practice today as a registered
Mhm.
clinical counselor.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, the education assistant role is so diverse. There's so many unique sort of positions and work that EAs do. Basically, it's not ever the same. Like one EA's job is never the same as the others because the child is unique. And since every child is unique, the individual education plan is going to be set up for that child, right? Or the
Right.
youth. So helping children and youth with mental health, um, specifically like cognitive or physical delays, was like one of the main parts of my role. So cognitive delays would be like learning disabilities, right? Helping children navigate ADHD, or other sorts of learning disabilities, and just teaching them creative ways to learn and ways that work for them. So, and actually, believe it or not, I still to this day use so many of those tools with my clients. I have a lot of my students back when I was in EA. Okay, so let's say they had, unfortunately, physical delays, right? Or physical limitations,
Yeah.
which they were in a wheelchair. A lot of these students were fully cognitively there. But unfortunately, that physical limitation increased their anxiety so much, right? Just rolling into the gym, just, like we would have to prep them, talk to them, because they know I'm not going to be able to run around like everybody else, right? And so the skills and the tools, the coping mechanisms that I would teach my students are actually very similar to what I teach some of my clients today.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's it for an EA. Do you have any questions about that, Maddie?
Um, First of all, I think that it's so wonderful how you can use your past experience
Mm-hmm.
that you can use now in your practice.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a lifelong learner. I know that I'm going to be. I love
Yeah.
listening and learning, and so that's so wonderful. I don't really have any questions, but yeah, I'd love to
Okay.
hear more about the youth care worker.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So the youth care position that I did was only for 2 years. It was my last 2 years working with the Surrey School Board, and it was really fascinating. My role was actually inner child. Sorry, inner city youth care worker, right? So inner city, I mean, you know, for some that means something. And it was pretty much where I was helping at risk youth that are really, really struggling. Major behavioral issues, family home issues, systemic issues, you know, just really finding it very, very tough to navigate adolescence and navigate life. And sometimes not at any fault of their own, right? Unfortunately, because it is what it is with some of these situations. So here, my main role was to actually be almost like a counselor aide. So not really like direct counseling, but indirect counseling, where I was helping them, just being a friend. Sure, I was a youth care worker, but it was more so to listen to them, help them navigate whatever issues that they may be having, helping them, you know, think in different ways. I'm just going to go do this, F this, right? Very common. Let's be real, right? This is how they speak. And okay, hey, let's go for a walk. You know, let's go for a walk and let's talk this out. Let's weigh out the pros and cons. So this the skill set that I learned working as a youth care worker definitely have transitioned into my work as a counselor, because many of us, when we're unfortunately going through tough times, right, are dealt with not the best deck of cards, right? We start to make decisions that aren't healthy for us. We start to do things that we may regret later. So before you get to that point, it's the work in therapy, right? Using healthier coping mechanisms, alternative ways to manage these stressors, right? Helping people work through the victim role, victimization, right? Which a lot of these youth also experienced day in and day out. So yeah, I hope I answered that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious, and so you mentioned a few of the coping tools, and I'm wondering, when you were working with these youth, whether as an education assistant or a youth care worker, did you observe any like stigma that they experienced from their peers or even from, you know, school staff that maybe influenced their mental health, or just had an effect on their self-worth? Because, you know, at Stigma-Free Society, that's something that we really try to break down. And I'm curious your experience with that, and if you observed any stigma in these situations.
Right. So the role that I had, Maddie, was actually in a school program that was outside of the regular high school.
Okay.
So it is interesting where these youth, because they're high risk youth, they're not really with the rest of their student body, which is unfortunate, which in itself, I mean, let's talk about stigma, right? So it's one of these tricky situations where everybody there is really struggling.
Right.
So between that group, there was no stigma, which is really cool.
Right.
But I feel like if they were going to now get reintegrated into the regular school, like say for an assembly, or right, or there's some sort of a program, pep rally, dance, I don't know, things like that. That's where they would feel nervous. I do remember speaking to many of them feeling nervous to go even back there.
Right.
I mean, and so what happens is they would stick together, right? They'd stick together, and because they know everybody knows they are different, and they're in this segregated program.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are so many benefits of finding people that understand your situation and have commonalities just in your experiences. But that must have been hard though to sometimes be separated, right? Even if they needed extra support and different, unique like learning strategies. Yeah, that must have been hard to be separate from other youth. So yeah, that's very, very interesting. So I would love to talk more about your work now. I think that's so interesting about your work before and how it's influenced your counseling practice today. But I would just love to know about your practice, wellness talks, and the values and behind your practice and the unique visions that you have for this practice, and yeah, just a bit more about it.
Okay, I would say the best way to explain is by reading my mission statement. So I'm just going to go ahead and read that. Good health cannot simply be measured by what one eats or how much one exercises. Good health must also be measured by what one is thinking and feeling. Talking about thoughts and feelings is a way to organize the chaos inside the mind and the heart. Talking cures the mind and body, and wellness talks can help achieve optimal health and overall well-being. So that is my mission statement. And I think it covers everything I want to say in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That, it's even today, like we're a super modern world, right? Techie world. Yet there is still this separation, right, between the physical body and the health of the physical body. And for some reason, I don't know why the brain and the mind is completely somewhere else. So I'm all about, in my therapy, it's synergistic, right? It's intertwined. It's, our head is not like beside our body, it's part of it, right? So, so if we go to the gym, and we work out our muscles and to strengthen them, we should also be going to therapy to strengthen our brain, which is also a very important muscle, right? So that's kind of the mission. And in terms of the vision, my goal is to help clients find and connect with their inner wisdom, strength and healing capacity. So support individuals to stand within the truth of their own experience and more meaningfully and effectively deal with life challenges, right? Creating a safe, open, and caring relationship with clients is of utmost importance to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you have the holistic view. I definitely agree that it's very funny. It's very interesting how we separate the brain from the body. It's like the brain is part of the body. We have to take care of our mental health.
Yeah.
I've definitely been trying to, as Stigma-Free Society, and also just in my personal life, trying to share that with friends. Like, it's not just about your physical body. Mental health is so important. But also, like, when we take care of our physical body, it also helps our mental health. And so I love how you have that holistic approach. And I really like the focus on the strength and the healing, and having tools that you can use to deal with life challenges, because it's not just maybe counseling through hard times in the past for people, but also being proactive, right, about the future, like how in the future can I deal with these challenges. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's very very wonderful.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, just creating a safe, open space for everybody, that is extremely important for myself and the future of wellness talks, which I'll get more into later.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, just a bit more about your practice, and yes, I would also love to hear about future goals and stuff. But you mentioned in your bio that your practice is virtual now. I'm curious if your practice has always been virtual and how COVID has influenced that, and if you find there are benefits of having that virtual treatment and opportunities that it creates for clients.
Yeah, right. So pre-COVID, it was not virtual. I actually worked full-time between two clinics, one in White Rock, one in Abbotsford. So I
Okay.
would commuting back forth between the two quite a bit.
Wow.
Yeah,
A lot of
right.
opportunity.
And so, of course, then COVID happened, and the clinic shut down, and what do we do, right? So, of course, with one of the clinics I work for is actually a medical clinic with a great team of physicians who are so forward thinking within their medical model and truly believe the importance of having a counselor on their team. And yeah, just speaking of forward thinking, right? This is
Yeah.
what we need to see more. And so the physicians actually right away had to, because they are medical doctors, open up their virtual platforms for their appointments. So it was truly with the help of the main doctor that I work with there, who had set me up to do virtual work with my clients at that clinic. So first and foremost, the benefits of virtual treatment are that it's convenient,
Mhm.
right? You can do it from the comfort of your home. You can do it from any other safe space, your vehicle. Believe it or not, I have a lot of clients that do that, right? Some people actually prefer to go to a really nice spot in nature
Mm.
and that's quiet, that's segregated, and they do their therapy there so they can meditate afterwards. So it's actually quite neat what the virtual platform has, made us start thinking about in terms of therapy, right? And there's
Yeah.
actually not a lot of limitations. There's actually a lot of good here. So another thing is, for the clients who are very nervous about in-person therapy and probably would never ever do it in their life,
Yeah.
virtual therapy has been so phenomenal for these folks.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and I've heard this directly from my clients who have stated they are so nervous, even during the consultation, the 15-minute consultation that I offer, so incredibly nervous, right? And I can tell as a counselor, and just reassuring them that if they want to do phone, they can. They don't have to have the video on, right? And
Right.
it's a step-by-step process to helping them open up. And it's really quite beautiful. So, yeah, again, it's a great alternative, right? For people who just don't see themselves doing it or are very scared too. Um, Also, it's a great alternative for people who can't travel, seniors,
Mm.
right? People who use assisted devices, because I do have clients who use assisted devices. It's such a great, great way for them to get their therapy,
Right.
right? And not to mention, with all of COVID, right? People could not go out to have an RMT, registered massage, right? And things like that for so long, but they were able to release tension, right? In their body and built up stress through talk therapy
Right.
using the virtual domain. So pretty cool, right? Yeah. So, and also, not to mention, it's great for those who are very busy people, juggling life, especially parents, um, right? Their work, kids, their own relationship, it just never ends, right? So it's also really good for business owners, right? And also, I want to add one other thing. My clients who I had pre-COVID in person, they are actually all my virtual clients now, and they do not plan to go back to in-person therapy.
Wow.
I know. And that was quite surprising for me as a therapist. I said, okay. Because I was letting some of my clients know that I will eventually, as soon as I get the vaccination, be coming into the clinic. We're using very strict protocols and seeing them. And no, Esha, I prefer online. I prefer virtual. So
very interesting.
no.
Yeah. I love how many opportunities that the virtual platform has opened up. It's so great for your practice too, that now you can reach people all over Canada. That's also something that is very cool. And I've actually had some friends who have started therapy, and people that I know who would have never done it before, but the virtual or the on the phone, they just feel so much more comfortable, and they can be in the comfort of their own home, or like you said, that you can go into nature, you can do it in the car, anywhere you want. Definitely good.
Yeah. And sorry, I did forget to mention and to touch on that. So how did I get clients all over Canada? How did that even come to be?
Yeah, I don't know.
So I actually work for a phenomenal private addictions recovery facility, a program here in the Lower Mainland, where we do have people men come in from all over North America. So many of them pre-COVID, right? Our therapy relationship would just kind of end, once their program ended. And the ones that came from Alberta, the ones that came from Ontario, and et cetera, right? But it's like, Esha, I wish you lived back home, and I could see you here and there. So because of the virtual platform, I'm able to continue working with these individuals, because recovery is the foundation of staying sober, right? And so that ongoing therapy is so important with the same therapist. So so this is how that expanded. And then, word of mouth. Now they have friends. Oh, I know this therapist, she's amazing. And then they gave my number and so on and so forth. And before you know it, I have clients in other parts. So now I have to make sure I know all the times all over Canada, right?
Yeah, we've had to deal adapt to that as well, right? Because it's great. We've been able to make partnerships with people all over Canada, but all the meeting times, trying to coordinate, you're 3 hours ahead. That can be a challenge sometimes, but
right.
But that's wonderful how many opportunities that virtual counseling has created. That's so great. We're actually nearing the end of our interview already. Oh my gosh, it went by so fast. So I'd love to know a couple more things.
Yes.
I would love to know what your favorite part of your job is, but also just next steps for you and your practice and goals for the future.
Okay, yeah. So first and foremost, favorite part of my job is seeing my clients overcome their struggles. Witnessing that, it doesn't get any better than that, right? And going to bed every night knowing that I've made a little bit of a difference, a little bit of a positive difference in my clients' lives. So that would be my favorite part of my job. So, and what was your second question?
Yes, just the next steps for you, for your practice and goals for the future.
Okay, so once COVID settles down and we're all vaccinated and it's safe to do so, I would eventually like to create a spa-like space where clients can come to do in-person therapy if they wish, and be welcomed by a cup of tea and a very calming environment where you can grab a book, relax, just as you would before you were to go in for a massage.
Oh, I love that. That's so wonderful.
Yeah. And then even afterwards, settle, stay 10, 15 minutes, and then leave. So this is the kind of long-term plan I have for wellness talks, is to create a very like an oasis therapy space for my wonderful clients.
Oh, that sounds so amazing. I can't believe, yeah, I haven't really heard of anybody else doing that. That is just such a great idea. And I love that there will be time afterwards where people can stay and decompress a little bit. Because yeah, like that's what I find after sessions. It's kind of like, oh, it's over and I'm out in the world, and it's like, oh, I just was emotional talking about good things. Oh, I love that. That's so great.
So these are the kind of pieces, and you got the word bang on. I do have a very holistic approach. So there's a lot of also nutritional based kind of information that I provide my clients to even make that change all over in their life.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, just last to wrap up, where can viewers find you? Where can they find information about you and wellness talks?
Okay, yeah, Maddie, you and I were talking about this. So my website is currently being created by a phenomenal graphic designer I work with. But for now, you can connect with me through Psychology Today. If you search my name, Esha Shoker, I should come up. I'm holding a cup of tea. Shocking. So you can message me through that platform. As well, check out my Instagram, Wellness Talks. You can also email me at eshashoker@gmail.com or throw me a text, 778-879-TALK.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll put all that information down in the comments after the video so that people have that. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah. Likewise. Me too.
Awesome. All right. Well, to all the viewers watching, have a great rest of your day. You too, Esha, I hope you have a wonderful long weekend if you have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, just have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Take care, Maddie, and take care everybody else.
Bye.
Bye.